YouTube. I am just getting to the gym. It's about 12:50 in the afternoon. Lifting on my lunch today because I have something going on later this afternoon. So got some work done this morning. Had my call with Paul. It went really well. We discussed a long list of things I had. Poor guy. But I am just sipping on some pre-workout. Total Nutrition, shout out. And then I'm going to go in, and I think I'm going to split my cardio up. I usually do my cardio in the morning, but this morning I wanted to be productive, get some work done, and then come in and just slam it all out all at once. So I think I'm going to do 15 minutes before I lift, just to like warm my body up, finish sipping my pre-workout. Then I'm going to do shoulders and arms, and then I'm going to do 15 minutes afterwards because I just have 30 minutes of steady state today. So I am going to film this workout because it's a little bit different than my typical shoulder and arm workout. And I will check in with you guys when I am all done. What's up, guys? I wanted to record a little voiceover for this shoulder and arm workout because it's been a little bit since I did do an informative voiceover. So starting out here with 15 minutes of cardio, and I also did 15 minutes of cardio after for a total of 30 minutes. I then started with a little circuit to warm up the muscles here. I do like to do a little bit of a warm-up circuit to warm up the muscles I'm physically going to be using in the workout ahead because it does help avoid injury and really gets the blood flowing and gets you in the right mindset for your workout. So I started with some lateral raises, some front raises because I was training shoulders, and I did do a little bit of light bicep curls and tricep work as well. And I did about 2 sets of 20 on each of these exercises. After my muscles were nice and warm, I moved on to my focus lift of this workout, which was Smith machine shoulder press. And I did 4 sets of 12 with a set weight that my coach had set for me. I then moved on to single arm landmine presses. These were killer for my shoulders. I hadn't done them in a while. With these, kind of like overhead press, if you are standing, you really want to make sure you're not using the momentum to get the weight up. You are physically using that shoulder muscle to really press the weight. And I promise you don't need to use a ton of weight on these to really feel that burn. I then moved on to barbell upright rows. I really like to pull to the top. You can't tell because this is sped up a little bit, and pause at the top to really make sure I'm really feeling that contraction, and make sure that the negative, you don't just let it fall. You really control that negative. Then moved on to some Arnold presses. Again, you do not need a ton of weight on these. I did do about 15 reps of these, and I was only doing 15 pounds, and I can tell you my arms were burning by the end. After the Arnold presses, I moved on to a front raise on the cable machine. You can choose to do these any way you would like. You can do them with dumbbells, with a barbell, but again, really making sure that you are not using a heavy weight and you are using those delts to pull that weight up and not momentum. And then after, I stayed on the cable machine, but for some lateral raises. Again, this is sped up and you cannot see, but I am pausing. You can see it a little bit, I guess. Pausing at the top and really holding that for about a count of 2 and then controlling the negative on the way down. And this got my shoulders on fire. I was literally doing, I think, like 5 pounds on each side, and I was dying. After I completed the lateral raises on both sides, I moved on and supersetted this actually with the pec deck. These I've really been focusing. I know I do have a tendency to turn this into a back exercise versus a rear delt exercise, so really been focusing on not going all the way forward, about 2/3 of the way, and then back just a little bit past parallel to really keep that contraction in the rear delts. Give it a try and let me know what you think. Moving on to arms, I started with Preaacher curls. I did do supersets for my arms to really make this workout go a little bit faster. I supersetted each bicep movement with a tricep movement. So supersetting with these Preaacher curls, I supersetted with some tricep dips. I have been doing dips on the hammer strength machine, but I decided to do the assisted dip machine. I can do a few dips, but I really wanted to focus on feeling that contraction again. And I was doing 15 reps of this, so I decided to do it on the assisted machine. Then moving on to my next superset, I did some cable bicep curls, really focusing on feeling that contraction all the way up on these bicep curls. And I did about 10 on each side for these bicep curls. And I supersetted them with these overhead tricep extensions. I do normally do them with a rope, but I decided to switch it up a little bit and do it with the barbell that I previously used for my front raises. And really hold that contraction at the end to make sure that tricep is fully extended. I then moved on to my burnout set, and you guys, I know you've seen this one before, but let me tell you, if you want a quick burnout, this is the way to do it for your biceps and triceps. I started with tricep extensions, and choose a weight that you can do about 20 reps with, and just go until complete failure. You can see the failure on my face. And then go down to the bottom, another rope again, and do some bicep hammer curls. And again, choose a weight you believe you can do 20 reps with and go until complete failure. You are going to do this back to back for 2 sets without any rest, and you can see at the end your arms will be completely demolished. I hope you guys enjoyed this workout. Comment down below if you give it a try, and I will include the entire workout in the description box as well. Thanks guys for tuning in. Good morning, guys. It is Tuesday, April 18th. Thank goodness for this watch, or I would never know what day it is. I am in my car because I just pulled up to work, but I did want to film a prep update because I did get my first adjustments in cardio and macros in quite a while, which I'm excited about. So I kind of wanted to give you guys an update because I think the last update I was a little bit down, and we have gotten some answers since then. So I kind of wanted to share those with you guys. So I think the last one I did, I was 8 or 7 weeks out. I can't remember. I'll have to look back. But we are now about 4.5 weeks out from the Seattle Natural. Like I said, we had been keeping my macros the same. I think we had only dropped them twice. So the last time I dropped my macros or changed anything was February 17th. And to be honest, like I said before, the diet and the training was not what was difficult for me. It was the mental state. I felt like I had hit a plateau. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. I felt like it was my fault, like I was doing something wrong. And I just didn't know why my body had hit this like point. So I was noticing some things, but I also just chalked them up to be, oh, it's because you're dieting. So my energy wasn't low, but it definitely wasn't what it was before. Like I woke up kind of groggy. I would just be like, oh, just drink caffeine, you'll be good to go, and crush your workouts, and just kind of left it at that. My skin was super dry, like my hands were cracking a lot. They still are dry. My eyelashes were like thinning, and I was like putting on lash extensions. My eyebrows were kind of thinning, and I was like, well, it's just because you're dieting. You're not getting the nutrients you were before, even though I was really focusing on getting my micros and my macros in. But also, I've mentioned 100 times before, my digestion has always been bad since I was about 16. I've gone to the ER a few times just because the pain from not being able, sorry, this is TMI, to use the restroom was so incredibly bad. I was convinced there was like something dying inside of me. Like they would have to pump me with morphine. I would get the cold sweats, like just so bad. And it seemed to be getting better when I was reverse dieting, but I think that's because I was putting more food in me, and so it was giving my body more things to digest and help my body work. But it still was not great. But I also wasn't focusing on my weight, so I wasn't like paying attention to the fluctuations as much. And when I started my prep, I definitely was noticing it more. Like one day I would be up like 5 pounds, but then you'd think, and you're like, oh wait, I haven't gone to the bathroom in 4 days. Like no wonder my weight is up. And then I would go to the bathroom, my weight would be down, and it was just kind of like a cycle. So I definitely decided that this wasn't normal. I had talked to a nutritionist, and like I had mentioned before, we had tried to add some things back in, added some digestive enzymes, some glutamine, some magnesium into my diet, and I definitely noticed some improvements. But I think that was initially just because my body was like, whoa, you've never done this before, what is this, and was trying to like kind of auto-regulate itself again, and it definitely did. And that's when I felt like I hit that plateau. So I had seen doctors before for my digestion, but they were just like, oh, take Miralax every day. And I was a little frustrated with that because I'm like, that's just a Band-Aid. That's just telling your body it doesn't need to do its actual functions, that you're going to give it something that's going to do it for it. So I decided to go to a naturopath, and she was the first one that suggested taking blood tests. And she tested for a lot of things, and we knew some of my numbers could be a little bit off because I was in competition prep, and thankfully she does competitions as well, so she completely understood. And when my test came back, everything was normal, which was great, except for my thyroid. And my thyroid is underactive, so I do suffer from hypothyroidism, which I don't understand why doctors didn't suggest that I test this before, because it is something that is hereditary. My dad actually has the full-blown autoimmune deficiency, so he has Hashimoto's. So his thyroid is very underactive, but I remember when he was diagnosed, his skin was so puffy, he was trying to lose weight, he didn't understand, and then that was the first sign, and they suggested to test his thyroid. And I asked my naturopath, like, why would doctors not think to test this? And she was like, to be honest, because I was kind of that type of yo-yo dieter, and I've always been super active, she's like, to be honest, you've never shown the sign of weight gain or puffiness, so they probably just never thought about it. But these other symptoms I was experiencing, and just getting angry really easily, and I just felt like my hormones were just off. Again, I was chalking this all up to prep, and everything was related to my thyroid. So I am so thankful to finally have answers. My head feels so clear. I started my medication, and I go back in 3 weeks to get my blood retested to see how my levels are evening out, and we'll play with the dosage. So hopefully this resolves my problems for the most part. Paul and I have reviewed all of this. He understands, so we are both really excited. And back to prep, though we did get answers, and we're hoping to see some progress as well. We did make some changes. Again, we are 4 weeks out. Before I was, or 4.5, it'll be 4 weeks on Saturday. Before I was doing training day macros, which my carbs were a little bit higher. And then non-training day macros where my fat and carbs were a little bit lower. And then I had one refeed a week where my carbs were like 100 grams higher. My protein was a little bit lower, and so was my fat. So now, being 4.5 weeks out, he came back on Saturday, and we are finally making some adjustments, and the last thing he says we have left to do is really bring out that hamstring and glute separation, which I am so excited about because that is what I've been wanting to see for so long, because I think that's every bikini girl's dream. So I am having 5 consecutive low days, which when I say low, my calories still are not that low, guys. My carbs are still over 100. So I don't want you to think that when I say low, I am like starving myself, because I'm not. And then I have 2 consecutive refeeds a week where these are tracked refeeds. My carbs get bumped up about 100 grams, and then my protein's a little bit lower, and so is my fat to kind of even out those calories. So this is the first week. We are on day 3 of low carb, and I'm actually starting, I usually do my training fasted, but I'm starting to do my HIIT sessions. I'm going to try to do them fed as much as I can, just because my energy expenditure is greater than what I'm taking in. So I want to make sure I have that energy from my food to really push through those HIIT sessions, because that's what's going to push me past those sticking points. So I may still do my steady state fasted because that just works better with my schedule, but really trying to do those HIIT sessions fed. Paul did a great video, I'll link it below, on fasted versus fed training, because there are some different views on that. So if you guys are interested in learning more about that, check that out in the bio. I'm going to insert some of my check-in photos from last week, which was my 5-week out check-in. Cardio is still not that bad. It increased a little bit, but you got to think about how this sounds. So before I was doing 3 steady state sessions a week and 2 HIIT with 12 minutes of intervals. So that was about like 132 minutes of cardio, I think, for a week, which is not a lot when you're prepping for a competition. And he bumped it up to 4 25-minute steady state sessions a week and 2 HIIT sessions, but 14 minutes of intervals. So that adds up to 148 minutes of cardio a week. So even though it sounds like I'm doing less in a day, overall the week I'm doing more. So you gotta look at the big picture there. So I'm excited to see where these little minor adjustments, they aren't huge, of course. My calories didn't drop a ton. I don't want you to think that. My cardio isn't through the roof now. But we're getting down to the grind, people, so I'm excited. I will keep you guys updated. My mindset is completely different than it was. Yes, the scale is still going like this, but I know why now. I know it's not my fault, and I did a post on this. I should not have been blaming myself at all. These things happen. So just take every day, give every day your all. That's what I'm gonna do. Every day brings new challenges, and those challenges are what make us stronger. So I've got 4.5 weeks, and we're gonna bring it. Talk to you guys soon.